All right, so you got this movie called LiverLeaf, and boy, this might be one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. And when I say disturbing, I'm literally talking about the cast of people that's in it. It came out back in 2018, so let's just get to it. You got this chick by the name of Nozuki, right? She gets picked on by like these three girls in school and these three dudes in school, all led by this chick named Teiko. Now, Teiko really doesn't do anything, but these three of her chicks just start, tossing their shoes and shit, just basically picking with her, doing all types of stuff, right? The other three guys just go along for the ride, so it's basically like six of them that are doing all the picking and stuff. But this dude named Aiba is like usually sticking up for Nozuki or whatever like that because basically he likes her, you know what I'm saying? So when Nozuki goes home, we find out she's got a mom, dad, and a little sister. And her and her little sister real close, you know what I'm saying? Then we get the scene where this one dude's walking down the steps. We see the three dudes coming in, and one of them got thumbtacks on his shoes, just kicks him down the steps. I'm like, what did he do? Like, what was the point of that? It's just bullies for no reason, just walking on all that baby business, keep going. Now, keep in mind, I think they're in high school right now. Yeah. Now, here's the thing about this school. There's only like 10 or 15 people in this school and like one teacher by the name of Miss Mina or whatever like that. So I'm like, why is there only a certain amount of people in this school? Apparently, they got like 2 more months before they graduate or whatever, but anyway. And Miss Mina can't even handle the kids in the class. Every time she sees somebody getting bullied, like she ends up leaving out the class, just throwing up and shit. I'm like, okay. So the inmates basically run the asylum there. So there you go. So Aiba ends up coming to Nozuki's house. They end up getting to talking or whatever like that. They get their little moment and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But the parents find out she be getting bullied at school, and they probably didn't even want her to go and finish it up. You know what I'm saying? So for whatever reason, yeah. Then we got this chick in class by the name of Rumi. Boy. So it's gotten to a point where Nozuki hasn't been going to school for a couple of days or whatever like that. Then they start picking on Rumi. Now, the thing is, they used to pick on Rumi before. I guess they're going to go back to picking on her if Nozuki doesn't show up to school. So basically, Rumi's got to find a way to bring Nozuki to school. So Rumi ends up going to Nozuki's house or whatever like that. Apparently, she's been telling him that she's sick. She ends up asking her to play this CD on his favorite song or whatever like that. When she's about to do that, Rumi tries to take out a phone and try to take pictures of her or whatever like that. I'm like, what is she doing? But Nozuki Carter was like, don't do that. And basically, she tried to convince her to come back to school, but Nozuki's like, nah, I'm not coming back to school. Knowing they're going to target her if she doesn't come back. So apparently, we see the next day, Rumi at school, she's stuffed in a locker or whatever like that. Now, apparently, she did get the CD and she ends up giving it to Teiko. And basically, they end up picking on her anyway, but then they cut her, Teiko ends up cutting her hair or whatever like that. Now, the thing is, with Teiko, she was going to cut her hair regardless because she's actually trying to go to school to be a beautician. So she got Rumi looking clean and all that. But then the thing was, they asked her how she feels about Nozuki, and because of the fact she didn't come back to school, Rumi was like, man, I just want to kill her. I'm like, what? I'm like, why you want to kill her? You got these niggas that are bullying you, and then, like, okay. Like, what the fuck did she do to you? So then we get to this point where Aiba comes by the house to see Nozuki again, you know what I'm saying? They go on a little walk and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, Nozuki's sister tags along or whatever, and then he starts taking pictures. Apparently, Aiba's a photographer, right? He starts taking pictures of these plants that they call LiverLeafs. Ergo the title. Apparently, they're supposed to be the only thing that blooms bright after like snow melts when it snows or whatever like that. Now, at this point, there's no snow on the ground. Then he ends up taking pictures of both Nozuki and the sister because the sister asked for a picture. Then we see him chilling out again the next day, but this time the sister doesn't go with him. She stays at the house or whatever like that. And now it's just a little technical date with Aiba and Nozuki, right? But as they was walking back to the house, it was getting late, right? You seen a couple of girls walking past them. I'm like, who was that? Like, are those the random bullies that be picking on her or whatever like that? Next thing you know, she looks over, it's like a big ass fire. But the fire is actually coming from her house. We're like, oh shit. Aiba rushes head first into the fire, whatever like that. And fortunately for him diving in there, he was able to save his sister, barely, but she was burnt all the way up. Well, unfortunately, her parents died in that fire. The sister's barely breathing. She's in like medical condition, so she's in the hospital now. She got burns all over her body, wrapped in a full leather body cast, everything. It's like, damn. Now we're thinking to ourselves that bully crew has something to do with it, right? Yeah, they did. So Nozuki hasn't been to school in a couple days, whatever like that, right? Turns out next day, she actually shows up to school. She looked at the three girls, whispers something in their ear, whatever like that, and all of a sudden, they just start following her outside. I'm like, the fuck? And they went to this area that they was picking on her at the beginning of the movie, right? Now, at this point, it's snowing on the ground. And from this point on, it's snowing throughout the rest of the movie, so keep that in your mind. Then we get these background shots from the girls or whatever like that, and they've been abused or whatever at home. So it's like, okay, it transfers into why they just run around bullying people, whatever. So, you know what I'm saying? It ain't right, but we get where it's coming from. So one of the girls gets the drop on Nozuki or whatever like that, basically trying to make it seem like they want to kill her, but they basically just playing around, right? Nozuki not playing around, though. She gets a knife out of nowhere and jabs that, a stick or whatever like that. It jabs it straight in the fucking eye. I'm like, oh, shit. Then gets a rusty-ass steel pipe and starts beating her to death with it. Done deal, daddy shit. The other girls all crying, running around. Oh, man, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? Then she ends up beating one girl's leg so that way she can't get up and go nowhere. She's sitting on the ground. The other one trying to climb out the daggone pit. She's like, nah, fuck all that. Choom! Slice her the back of the heel, whatever like that. She falls. Done deal daddy shit. The other one barely going anywhere. She got her head leaned up against the dumpster, whatever like that. Shorty takes the steel pipe, bashing her head. She done deal. All three of them done deal daddy shit. Nozuki said, fuck all that shit. We going crazy. We get this one scene in class where Rumi's acting all happy about something. She goes over to Kato, is like, yeah, we're doing this, da, da, da. And then Kato just stabs her in her hand out of nowhere. Was like, don't touch my desk. I'm like, what the fuck? Now, apparently at this point, Nozuki's living with her grandfather now, right? Aiba comes over to try to comfort her, but she's over there laying there asleep. But they don't realize that she actually is awake the whole time. See, the thing is, her grandfather is trying to get her to move back to Tokyo. And seeing how Aiba's going to be doing the same thing, he's going to make sure he looks at the Nozuki, you know what I'm saying? Then we get back to school, we see Aiba and the three dudes or whatever like that. All of a sudden, some cops come up to the school, and then one of the dudes just leaves out the school. He's like, yeah, I'm about to dip. He's walking down some random street in the middle of nowhere. All of a sudden, we see Nozuki walking up on him like, oh, shit. He start talking crazy. She ends up stabbing him in the stomach. You're like, oh, what the fuck? Then she swiped him a couple of times. He's like, ah. He's trying to get away, whatever like that. She's slow walking towards him, and then he ends up falling down this daggone cliff and breaking both his legs. And she don't even follow him. She just looks at him and then dips out because basically she's just gonna let him bleed out. He can't get up. He ain't gonna do nothing. He done do daddy shit. So basically it's only two guys left and Takeo. Rumi later on ends up finding the three bodies. She saw spazzing out, whatever like that. She tried to tell Takeo about the situation, but Takeo ain't trying to hear nothing. The other two niggas called up Rumi and was like, hey, yo, you know what I mean? Some shit probably putting down, you know what I'm saying? You better watch yourself. So then we see Nozuki leaving the house or whatever like that. Then the two dudes are going to set up, you know what I mean? Set up shop and try to do something. We get this flashback about one of them putting a dead crow on her desk. I'm like, what the fuck? One of these niggas got some type of BB gun. This other dude got like a crossbow. So that's both of their weapons. So she's like walking down this part. She ends up going back to the part where she was at where they first found the LiverLeafs. All of a sudden, dude shot the crossbow, missed her, and ended up hitting the umbrella. Fat dude somehow ends up getting on top of her or whatever like that. He's trying to like beat her or whatever, but he's about to finish off and then he's like fake shooting and all this other stuff. So he's like, yeah, I got you where I want you. But he acting like he really want to, you know, try to do something or whatever like that. Turns out she ends up picking up some pliers out of nowhere and plunging them shits in his face. So as he's wobbling around, the other dude's trying to shoot with the crossbow. He ends up not being able to hit her. It hits him in his fucking head. He's still wandering around or whatever like that. So dude gets mad. He's running towards dude, whatever like that. But he ends up kicking the arrow back into his head. He's done deal daddy shit. And then she ends up slicing up the other one and he's done deal daddy shit too. So everybody's done except for Kato. Takeo, my bad. Then we get the scene where Aiba meets up with Nozuki again or whatever like that. Then she just breaks down and starts crying. But she just kept biting her lip and she was making her whole mouth bleed and shit. Her mouth bloody as fuck. And then he just looks at her and he kisses her or whatever like that. Both of them got blood on their lips. Shit's crazy, dog. Talking about he's always going to protect her and stuff like that. So I guess it's been a couple of days. All these parents keep coming up to Miss Mina or whatever like that. They're like, hey, where have our kids at? We haven't seen them in a couple of days. What's going on? You're supposed to be running the school, running the teach this, that, third. I'm like, the fuck? Why don't you go to the police with this shit? And then Miss Mina just breaks down. Apparently, she was bullied by kids years ago, too, or whatever like that. She's never got that out of her head. And she spazzes out. The next thing you know, she just throws up again. Then she just runs out of the building. And she's running. She just falls into the middle of the street, whatever like that. Then this tractor trailer is coming, whatever. And then she just starts smiling and let the tractor trailer chew her ass up like a goddamn wood chipper. I was like, what the fuck? So I guess it comes to a point where Nozuki is like, you know what? She's starting to listen to her granddad and be like, you know what? Maybe I will stay here instead of we're going back to Tokyo. I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck would you want to stay here after all this mayhem caused? And then we see Takeo come into the door, whatever like that. I guess she wanted to give the CD back, but then she ends up taking it back. Was like, never mind. But then as she's walking, all of a sudden the bus comes and she sees Nozuki on the bus. Nozuki gets off the bus. Takeo goes over there, and now they had this conversation. It's crazy. Now, apparently one of the big reasons they fell out, whatever like that, because they used to be friends at one point, but the reason they fell out was because of Aiba. Takeo was feeling Aiba, but Aiba only wanted to talk to Nozuki. I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's the reason you got a whole gang of bullies? I'm like, really? Then she begs on her knees and apologizes, tells her to forgive her and all this other stuff. So Nozuki doesn't even do nothing to her. She just lets her go about her business. But then the crazy thing is all of a sudden, Fumi comes out of nowhere. Now, Fumi's ready to beef with Takeo. Now, why is this? Because apparently she wasn't answering the phone calls, trying to be worried about anything. She kept trying to slide and diss her and all this other stuff. All the quote-unquote abuse that you're supposed to be taking from her or whatever. Takeo looked at her as never being shit. And on top of that, we get some backstory as to what happened and how the fire got caused. Now, apparently, Fumi was the one that started the whole thing. As a matter of fact, she's the one that was bringing the kerosene or whatever like that. But guess who left the scene? Takeo left. She didn't even bother to stick around. She was like, nah, I'm good. I'm about to roll out. I'm like, wow. We found out she's the one that poured gasoline in the house. The mom came out. She just poured gasoline on her too. And then one of the dudes, you know what I mean, flipped the match and then burnt her, you know what I'm saying? Then she poured gasoline on the dad and the sister or whatever like that. And then the dad was trying to cover the sister or whatever like that. But bottom line, she flicked the match and threw it on there. And that's how the whole house was burnt up. I was like, wow. Now, I don't care how much the dad covered up the daughter, the sister or whatever like that. There's no way this shit was happening during the daytime. When they got there, it was fucking night. Everybody in that bitch should have been done deal burnt crispy. And honestly, I don't even think the sister's gonna survive in the hospital, honestly. But speaking of that, so we get the situation with Nozuki's on the phone with Aiba, right? Now, boy. She tells him that she's gonna stay, but then Aiba's like, oh, I thought we were growing together, you know, so I was gonna be able to protect you. You know I love you, I care about you, da da da. And he just spazzes out on the phone. So while Nozuki's on her way back to the hospital to you know what I'm saying, check on her sister, we get the scene where Aiba ended up beating the shit out of his own grandma. We're like, why? What for? Turns out he killed his own dad because his dad used to beat the hell out of his mom. But the thing was, the mom actually enjoyed it. And because of the fact she was enjoying it, he ended up finishing off his mom. And because now he doesn't know if him and Nozuki are going to be living together, that enraged him to beat the hell out of his grandma and also stab her. I was like, what? People in this movie got problems. So then we check on the sister at the hospital, but guess what? Fumi's in the room. We're like, oh shit. She starts throwing gasoline on her, about to light a match, and all of a sudden Nozuki pops up, whatever like that. We're like, nah, son. She ends up kicking the match out of her hand, stomping in it, and they're going back and forth, whatever like that. Nozuki ends up getting the upper hand, and Fumi runs away. Aiba comes a while later to make sure that she's all right, whatever like that. And then we get this scene from the fight where Fumi beats the shit out of Tato. Tato was sliced up, stabbed in the chest or whatever like that. We're like, oh, damn, she done deal daddy shit. But now back to her present time. So she's walking past another part in the hospital. All of a sudden, we see her grandfather in the stretcher laid out. I'm like, damn, but he looked like he been beat the fuck up. I was like, yo, he's probably not even going to survive this shit. So we're like, who the heck beat up the grandpa? So now Aiba and Nozuki are walking through the snow or whatever like that, and he's trying to like catch up to him or whatever, and I guess he's feeling some type of way or whatever like that because of the whole situation. But then she looks at him, and then she looks at the bottom of his foot. It's like blood on the bottom of his foot. So he's like, what the fuck? So he's got his hands in his pocket the whole time. She's like, let me see your hands, let me see your hands. Pulls his hands out. He's got blood all on his hands or whatever like that. We're like, oh shit. Now we know he beat the hell out of his grandma or whatever like that, but that was like a couple nights ago. So I'm like, huh. See, I thought Fumi had went to the grandfather's house before she came over to the hospital to basically to finish off the job, whatever like that. But then I thought to myself, Fumi doesn't know where her grandfather lives at. I was like, wait, was Aiba the one that put the grandfather out of commission? Because you got to think, he actually went over there earlier when he was trying to make sure that Nozuki was okay. So he knew the location of where the grandfather was staying at. Once again, some crazy shit. All of a sudden, Fumi pops out of nowhere, ready for beef. Nezuki runs straight into it. All of a sudden, she stabs her in the night. I'm like, oh shit, Nezuki got stabbed in the stomach, yo. And then Aiba runs over like a madman, starts beating the shit out of Fumi. But the thing is, his bag flew up or whatever like that. All these other pictures came out. Now, you know he takes pictures, right? But while he was beating the shit out of Fumi, which made sure she was done dead as shit, Nezuki picked up this one picture, a couple pictures that showed it with flames. And I was like, are you fucking with me? Now, we knew he was there when the fires was going or whatever like that. But I was like, you mean to tell me he was actually there when all this shit was taking place? And I thought to myself, how could that be? Because he was with Nezuko the whole time before heading back up to the house. I'm like, what? Bottom line to seeing that, she tries to kill Aiba or whatever like that. But to no avail. Aiba starts beating the hell out of her or whatever like that. But then he just stops and he wants to take pictures. He tries to take pictures of the river reefs and stuff like that. LiverLeafs, my bad. He tries to take one more picture of her, and apparently all these beefs must have happened in the same area because she picks on the ground and picks up the fucking crossbow. Yeah, the one she was fighting the last two niggas with. Apparently it was just there. It's him straight as eye through the lens of the crossbow. Aiba's done deal daddy shit. Then we see Nezuki get up and try to walk back or whatever like that, but the wounds are too great, and then she ends up passing out, and then she's done deal daddy shit. So I'm like, is everybody dead? Well, guess what? Takeo was the only one to survive. How? I have no idea. She survives. She comes into the classroom, which she's literally the only person in the fucking classroom. And then we get this flashback to when her and Nezuki were friends and just cutting hair and doing things of that nature. I don't think Takeo's ever be able to do hair because when the fighting Fumi was smashing her goddamn hand on the ground, stabbing it, doing all types of shit. But somehow she survived all this, and that was the end of the movie. I was like, what the fuck? The movie's on YouTube. Check it out if you want to see some crazy ass shit, because that's exactly what it is. LiverLeaf, check it out.